Your votes, actions, and inactions show that you are a fascist politician, so please explain.
Okay, next question will come from the audience.
Okay, in Columbus, you said you support Doge and Musk's actions. You just stood here now and said you support research. My sister died from pancreatic cancer. UNMC, I work with them, I volunteer, and we have a cancer research fund set up there. Because of Doge illegally freezing and taking the money Congress allocated to UNMC for medical cancer research, they lost over $27 million illegally. So when are you going to start taking action and get that money back?
Well, let me tell you, although I know a number of you in this room disagree, Elon Musk and President Trump looking into the spending, the waste, fraud, and abuse in this country is a good thing. It is a good thing. As it relates to medical research and funding, I am going to support that in the appropriations budget. Ultimately, the president has the authority to suspend, but if the Congress says you must do it, he must execute our laws unless there's waste, fraud, or abuse.
Okay, next question.
At your last town hall I attended in Columbus, you emphasized fixing the U.S. debt, as you have here also. Here's where I have the issue with believing that is true what you want. The Tax and Jobs Act, under Trump, added $3.8 trillion itself to the deficit. And extending these cuts, which you have voted for, will add another $4 trillion to the deficit. You voted for both of these, but it doesn't match your emphasis on reducing the debt. Tariffs won't make up for it, because they're either being used as negotiation skills or to help with U.S. debt or to bring back manufacturing or, wait, no, it's back to trade negotiations. You never know what they're for. Either way, it won't cover it. U.S. business is paying, so with all this emphasis on helping the working class and the deficit, why is it that only the rich benefit from this, and the rest get stuck having to pay the debt later, as we do with this bill?
Say that last part again. Sorry.
Why do we have to pay the debt later, as we do with this bill?
This is not going anywhere. Obviously, it's the thing that I care the most about. This bill, while it isn't perfect, is the first time in generations that we've actually made major mandatory spending cuts. We have to grow the economy as much as we cut this in order to get out of this. Otherwise, here's the interesting thing to me though. If we think this is uncomfortable tonight, imagine the day that comes when the bond market and people don't buy our 10-year treasuries. This conversation gets a lot harder. A lot harder. And I believe that we are at least going the right direction by cutting mandatory spending. There is no easy way out of this. All right, next question.
All right. So, Professor Jason Stanley said that fascist politics intentionally distort the source of anxiety. A fascist politician has no intention of addressing the root cause of hardship. The deficit and wasteful spending are a distortion from the fact that you and other million and billionaires are personally benefiting from the tax breaks that come at the expense of social programs and regulations. It is not addressing the cause of our hardship that is the president is destroying our democracy by defying the courts and the Constitution, attacking and silencing free speech in the media, allowing security breaches, erasing history, using tax dollars and presidential power for personal gains, blaming DEI and using it to discriminate, and promoting eugenics and genocide, all while showing signs of cognitive decline. Your votes, actions, and inactions show that you are a fascist politician, so please explain how you are not encouraging fascism, and are you going to invoke articles of impeachment against Trump?
I get that you get an applause line when you call me a fascist, but I'm not. I am not a fascist. I'm an American, and I would never call you something like that. But I can tell you, at the end of the day, we have to live in this country together. I have an opinion about the debt. I believe that we need to cut spending. I believe that we need to figure this out before our financial markets fail. And I will do my best to stand up for you and the Constitution of the United States. Next question.
Okay. The next question is, the budget that was just passed by the House shows large deficits. We need to increase revenues, including tax increases, and not just have spending cuts. Why don't we look at tax increases to help balance the budget? My wife and I are...
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yep. My wife and I are in the upper 5 to 10% of wealth and income, and we would support income tax increases.
Well, that question tells me that we have two great Americans there that are trying to think about how to solve the crisis that we're in. There's no reason to say that that's not an option that's on the table. I believe, though, that raising taxes on Americans when our goal is to get our GDP up does not incite further growth in our economy. That's my position. That has been my position from the start. Next question.
Okay, affordable housing is an issue here in Seward and in Nebraska. What programs are out there to assist?
Okay. So I was recently elected the chairman of the Housing and Insurance Subcommittee on the Financial Services Committee, and I am specifically focused on working with my Democratic colleague, Representative Emanuel Cleaver from Kansas City, the former mayor there, on reauthorizing for the first time since 1993 the Home Partnership Program. One of the challenges with the Home Partnership Program is that in order for a city to use it, so the Home Partnership Program is the closest thing we have to the Nebraska Rural Workforce Housing Program. It's more geared towards workforce housing and less maybe for the vulnerable. We have Section 8 for the vulnerable. We have a number of other programs for Native American reservations. The Home Partnership Program, originally started in the 60s and then reauthorized in 1993, requires that the participant in a program, say a new homeowner in Seward, must be at no more than 80% of the average median income. Well, with 20% inflation, with mortgage rates at 6.7 or 7%, we need to move that AMI number up to something that's north of 100% so that cities like Seward and Dwight and Lincoln and Columbus can use it. And so I'm working with Mr. Cleaver, and so he and I put out a plea to every housing partner in the nation, whether it's NeighborWorks or Habitat for Humanity or the city of Austin, Texas, or the city of Lincoln, Nebraska. And we have gotten 144 submissions, and later in June, Mr. Cleaver and I are going to sit down away from the cameras, and we're going to spend 15 minutes with 24 of those submissions that I thought had interesting ideas and try to find a bipartisan solution that we can craft to put in front of the committee in July so that we can hold a hearing on it, we can take input on it, and then come back after the August recess and vote on it. And then convince our friends in the Senate, which will take 60 votes, including at least 7 Democrats, that this is good policy for America. And then my goal, if we can get it to the president, is to get it signed. And my next goal, if I'm afforded another opportunity to come to Congress, is to increase money for that program, because affordable housing is the #1 issue I hear about in the 1st Congressional District. We have 800 open jobs in Columbus. Last year we had 1,200 open jobs. What did the city of Columbus do? They went out and made sure that we had 1,000 more dwellings, whether multifamily or single family. Seward, they're talking about affordable housing. Lincoln's doing a great job with affordable housing. Towns like Papillion, Columbus, Norfolk, they all need affordable housing, and I see this as one way that I can use my talents in Congress to affect something in a bipartisan way, and I really appreciate that question because that program actually really matters to me.
Okay, one more question from up here. I'm from Lincoln and had to drive to Columbus for the town hall and tonight to Seward. When will there be one in Lincoln?
In August. There will be a town hall in August, and I will tell you, since I've been elected, it's been 3 years, I always do one in August. I switch the other towns out in the district because Lincoln is the largest town in my district. I try to do it in Sarpy County as well. This year I will do one in Lincoln in August, and I will give you plenty of notice so that you can get there, and I will probably need the Pinnacle Bank Arena to do it in at the rate I'm going.
All right, we'll take questions from the audience now.
Firstly, I do want to express gratitude for you coming out here. I do want to express gratitude for you coming out here and giving people an opportunity to speak. Not a lot of your colleagues are doing that, so thank you. That's commendable. I do find it interesting at the kickoff tonight, you said that every day you're speaking with providers of developmental disability services. I happen to run the state association for those home and community-based service providers who support Nebraskans with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm also the mom of a kid with DD who needs these programs to still be in existence after I die. And we may not have the budget that the Healthcare Association does. And for those of you that don't know, Medicaid pays for health insurance, but it also pays for home and community-based services. So we go into homes and communities and help people with disabilities lead their most productive life. If Medicaid is cut, what I see happening is I see it easy to say you're going to protect that health care for people with disabilities, but I don't feel that our home and community-based services are being protected. And when the FMAP gets cut for Nebraska, you served as Speaker of the Legislature. You know that that's going to turn into chaos and competition between all of us that need those Medicaid dollars. I can't go up against the Healthcare Association. I can't and don't want to go up against UNMC. How are you going to guarantee that home and community-based services are protected in Nebraska?
Excellent point. One thing I will say, first of all, thank you for what you do. You do work that is extremely important, and the Medicaid program at its very core exists for people with developmental disabilities. And I have, in the legislature, if you look at my record, I've consistently voted for provider rate increases, and the legislature usually is leading the way on that. People that run that appropriations committee have been very strong there. What I will say about developmental disabilities, like behavioral health, both of them need that at-home care. Sometimes they need respite care, which I know is sometimes the first to get cut. I've seen that in prior state budget debates. Thank you for putting it on my radar. Here's what I'd say. Taylor or Carter or Deb or anybody from my office, come, let's sit down, let's meet. I'm going to be in Lincoln on Thursday. We can meet then. If not, we can do it in Zoom. But I'm happy to have that conversation with you, and I want you to be a voice in the room as we go through this process. And you have to tell me exactly what's going on. I will say the same thing to the Lincoln Food Bank. I've established a relationship with them. I know they're sitting here somewhere. They deal with the SNAP program a lot. I care a lot about what they think as it relates to that. So now that you're here, you made the choice to come and engage, and we are going to engage with you, and you tell me what's happening along the way.
Thank you. Next question. Okay, next question is, why is your party claiming illegals are receiving benefits, Social Security, federal refunds, state refunds? As a child support officer, I know many illegals are paying Social Security, federal taxes, and state taxes.
Well, anytime you let millions and millions of people into the country with little or no documentation, there are people that abuse the system and get state benefits. Some states specifically authorize state benefits to illegal immigrants. That has not been the law in Nebraska. I helped pass a law to prohibit that in 2008. That's not the case in the state of California. That's not the case in other states. So the policy for all of America is not to give benefits to illegal immigrants. Question for the audience. Do you want illegal immigrants to get tax-funded benefits? I would say that is not the majority opinion of most Nebraskans. However, next question.
Okay, next question is, any updates on regulation regarding cryptocurrency?